Welcome back to the channel. We are back for another episode on the Project VR4 build. In this, we're going to be doing some work getting these valve covers all powder coated and finished up, so that way we can kind of move on to the next step of this motor, which will hopefully entail maybe putting on some new turbos that I have received. So we'll get into those in the next video. I'm just gonna get these valve covers off so we can get these things prepped and ready to go for powder coating, and then I'll see what else I can kind of fit into this video. For the intake plenum, this is pretty easy. You're gonna have the main bolts here up front. So you have a nut on the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. And then there's also a couple of miscellaneous bolts on the back side. There's only a bracket. Get that one out. You'll have your throttle cable on top, which obviously I don't have mine because the motor's out. And then we'll come over to the throttle body, and we're gonna have 4 bolts on this side, 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. And then you have a couple of lines. That's pretty much gonna conclude your intake manifold. We also do have this little sensor that's on the manifold. This is something to do with the evap purge or evap canister, which I already deleted. I'm gonna see what I can do about deleting this since I don't think I need it anymore. Rear valve cover is pretty much gonna be the same process as the front. Let's pull out your spark plugs first. And then just remove your corresponding bolts all the way around. There we have the rear valve cover off. Everything seems to look pretty all right. A little bit dry. I definitely will add a little bit of oil to these when I do reassemble everything. Other than that, we're just gonna cover this real quick. We'll go take all of our parts outside, try out some different paint strippers, get all this cruddy old stuff off, and clean everything up. This one's more like a gel, definitely super heavy and thick. And then I also have a spray one, citrus scent. We'll see how this one works, if it's any decent. Looks like it is starting to bubble and flake up, but I have kind of a putty scraper here, and then I also have a wire brush. We're just gonna try to agitate this and get the main portions of this off. We're not really getting too much of it off right now. Probably let this sit on here a little bit longer, hit it again. We'll see if the power washer has any better luck. I just went out and I power washed everything down. It was too dark outside to show you guys. You can see probably about 90% of that gold is gone. Definitely still has a little bit in here, especially in these tougher to reach kind of corners and areas. The rear valve cover is probably about 90% of the way there as well. And then the front did not really have too much luck. I got some new paint remover stuff to try out. The Rust-Oleum aircraft remover. We're gonna use this. Mostly we just need to get this valve cover much better. Obviously the other remover that we used didn't remove a whole lot. What I'm gonna do now, I just cleaned both of these up. A sandblaster will help clean up the rest of these spots. I got the rear valve cover now on the bench, and we're gonna flip this over. This is gonna be the first step, I would say. Since we have this part stripped, what we need to do is some work on the back side. In order for us to allow us to sandblast this and powder coat it, we need to remove this these baffles in the back. And you can see where these rivets are that go all the way around on both sides. We need to take these rivets out so that way we can get these inserts, and this insert wraps all the way around the outside. And we're doing this so that way when we go to sandblast this, all that material doesn't get caught in these baffle sections and it doesn't blow our motor up. If you have any debris like this left over, this will definitely take out a motor. This is one of those precautionary measures that I'm taking, and it's also kind of why I'm doing this powder coat myself as opposed to sending it out to somebody else to do it. I don't know if this is a step that they would take or what measures that they would do in order to remove these baffles and keep the sandblast material from outside of here. But in order for us to drill these out, what I'm doing is we're just taking a small screwdriver. A punch would work really good too. Center it up as best as you can on top of that rivet, and then just give it a little tap. mark our center point, and we're gonna have to drill all these out. I have a couple of them started to be drilled. I'm using a 1/64 inch drill bit, very, very small, and this is just to get our main initial hole started. That's why I made those little punch holes in there with that screwdriver. So we're gonna get this started with a small bit. We've now upped our drill bit size, and we're using a 1/4 inch. And this is why it's so important to get it centered. So we're gonna fall right on top of this rivet and just slowly work this down, chew through this rivet as best as we can. And that's about close right there. We're gonna kind of do this all the way around to all the other rivets. We're not looking to go through this material at all. We just wanna take off the top half of that rivet. So we might need to go back, do a little bit of cleaning up, a little bit of chiseling to knock off some of these tops of these metal pieces, but then we can kind of start prying this up a little bit. So as you can see, we have the baffle now out. What I'm doing is I'm going over all these spots where these rivets came up, and I'm going over them with just a grinder wheel really quick, just kind of grinding them down to get that surface nice and flush on there. I'll show you me doing one of these. And what that does is it gives us a little bit more of a nice flush even surface to get to. This one is going to be the front valve cover. I just pulled it off. I'll show you the back side so you can see what it looks like. Much easier. We only have this valley cover over 1/2 of this, as opposed to going and snaking all the way around in a U shape. We're gonna get these drilled and tapped out. I'm gonna be using some 8/32 very small screws. More than likely I'm gonna be using the ones on the shorter end on this side, just so that way we don't gotta drill too far and tap too far through. I've already drilled and tapped out the front valve cover with my drill bit. I have a little bit of tape up on here so I don't drill down too far. The drill bit size is going to be to number 29. As I'm doing this, I'm following along on the forums with a write-up that somebody did for removing and cleaning these baffles. This is by Alan with BTS Tuned. He made a great little forum and write-up for how to do this. With the rear valve cover, it can be a little bit more tricky just because there are some certain spots on these rivets that are a little bit more shallow that you probably don't want to take the chance of drilling and tapping. And if we measure this out for how far I'm drilling, I have that tape set up on that drill bit. It's right at about 1/2 inch into these. That should give you enough meat in order for you to thread, to tack in a couple threads, and we should be able to get these screws in. For this rear, I might go a little bit shallower because if you do take a look at these castings, these are very small. You can see you got a little bit more meat on this. That one's shallow. This one's a little better. 8/32 tap. We're just going to take this, put a little bit of cutting fluid or oil on it. In my case, I'm just using some motor oil. Go ahead and set it in, get it nice and centered up. Then we'll start this by hand. Everything is now tapped and drilled out with the valve cover, so we could put the baffles in and essentially put all the screws in once we get all this cleaned out. Now I did make one little oopsie on the rear valve cover, and I did drill through in one of the spots, and specifically it was right in this corner right there. I thought there was some meat behind it. There was not, as you can see, and we're going to JB weld this up really quick because I can't weld aluminum, and it's such a small spot that this should work just fine. We're just using some quick weld. We'll go ahead and clean both of our baffles out and also get these spots in here that definitely need cleaning from the PCV valve system. while I have these parts outgassing in the oven, the colors that we're going to be doing for this is going to be the same exact setup that I was doing for the calipers that I did the calipers in. Alien Silver base coat, Lollipop Red for the top coat, and then I will be adding a clear coat, Clear Vision on top. That's going to be our combo right here, silver, red, clear. Or we're going to get the Alien Silver in the hopper, get our gun set up. These things look absolutely insane. Like, I literally cannot stop looking at these. These aren't even out in the sun to show kind of the metallic and the pearl, but likewise to the calipers, these are the same color, and this color combo that we got going on camera, it just does not do it justice. This is probably the coolest and best looking red color I think I could have did. We need to get these things fully assembled and installed so we can get these back on the motor, so that way we can touch up our motor and make our motor look 100 times better. This is definitely going to spruce it up. One last final clean on the inside of this with some brake clean. We'll wipe it down and then we'll blow this off with some compressed air. And we'll do the same thing with our baffles before we do install those with our new set of screws. We'll bolt this in using our 3/8 inch screws. We are going to use a little bit of Loctite blue thread locker, so that way these don't come loose underneath the valve cover and get into our motor. The other thing is that you can use sealant all around the outside of this. They do that from the factory. It's completely up to you. You don't need to do it. In my instance, I'm actually not going to do it. The baffles and both of the valve covers. Now we're going to come over to the motor. What we're going to do is just pour a little bit of oil into the heads. We're not going to get it into the spark plug cylinders right in there, but everything else can pretty much get lubricated. It's fair game up here on the top. So we're going to do that really quick. Our choice of oil is going to be Mobil 1 10W40 full synthetic. This is my preferred oil to run on these cars. For gaskets, we're running the Felpro. So we're going to be throwing on the valve cover gaskets right now on the bottom side. We'll get these both slung on. Now I have a little bit of oil that I placed up in here. I just kind of got the journals all kind of lubed up a little bit better. So this is more oiled, and we cleaned up the whole entire surrounding surface on the outside. So we're going to start with the rear valve cover. The only thing we need to do is after we clean these surfaces up, we do need to apply some sealant. So I just have some The Right Stuff 90-minute black gasket maker. This needs to be applied on each one of the corners of the humps that go on these corners. You can kind of see where the existing line is from that old gasket. That's exactly where this is going to sit. There is a proper torque sequence for these valve covers. Basically what I do is I pretty much get all the bolts started and kind of on here just barely hand tight. And then I will go through the sequence according to this. with just a ratchet in hand, go over it very lightly, kind of get everything started to get snugged up, where that kind of the sealant on the sides, it should start spreading out just a little bit on there. Go over it once loosely, and then we're gonna take it after we finish the sequence one time, we'll go over it and hit it a second time and just kind of give everything just a light snug up on it. I believe there is a torque spec for this, but to be honest, it's very light and it's very loose. I prefer just to go over it with hand. I'm gonna repeat the same exact process for the front valve cover. We'll get this on. We have just two more quick additions we're gonna throw on our motor. So first one is I do have a new oil cap. We'll get this out of the box. I'll show you guys. This is a really cool touch-up. Cool little oil cap that I found. This is a Tomei. It says the engine specialist right on it. It's like a cool fake piston type thing. Nice chrome piece. We got one more thing I'm going to do to this front just to show you guys. We have ourselves a awesome spark plug cover. This is from 3SX. They make a couple of different custom variations. As you can see, the variation I got was the VR4, being that we have a 1998 VR4. Now, I went one step above and beyond to try and make this a little bit more custom and cool. And I also got some additional custom engraving done. We got the year of the car right over on that side, 98. And then if we switch over to the other side, I got one of 231 of these cars. That is how many of these are made in the US. This is the most rarest year for the VR4s, if you did not know. I didn't realize until after. I probably should have found out what number the car was made on the line. It probably would have made more sense. I don't know what number it is, but this just kind of goes to shows that there's 231 of them made, and this is one of those cars. There's one more thing that I want to do in this video before I wrap this up. We're going to throw back in the stock existing fuel system, which is what I have laid out right in front of me right now. We got the two fuel rails, we have the fuel rail loop, all the injectors with the spacers and hardware that go along to install that, and then we also have the stock fuel lines. Now it's time to get all of these injectors into the rail spots. Every single one of these, I cleaned off both this end to kind of get the dirt and debris off, and then all these O-rings that you see, this or little orange piece on the top, I'm just lubricating everything with a little bit of motor oil. We did the same thing with the rail. There's two rings that go in. This helps stuff slide into place, and it also prevents tearing. The other thing I'm going to do before I get the fuel rail installed back in here is we're going to get this PCV hose removed that's right down underneath kind of the cover. If we put the rail on, we're not going to have good access to it. It's kind of hard to reach. It's right by this front valve cover. It actually goes right over to this side. And I just broke the hose. This is what part of it looked like. It's so hard and brittle that it's like plastic now. The old hose that I just pulled off, broken, brittled, tattered. You can see it's cracking. They had this plugged off, so it wasn't doing anything. This is the new hose that I got. I just found this off of a part out. I was finally able to find a part out recently, and I stole just a bunch of random miscellaneous parts off of it. This is one of those things that I knew I needed, took a note of it, went there, was able to get this piece off, and it costed me literally nothing. It's just going to go right over that tube on the bottom that we just got the other one off, snake up, and then it goes up to the valve cover right there. And there should be another little fitting that I'll have to order for the specific motor to go to this hose that we can hook that into. We got the whole entire rail on with all the injectors. The little wiring harness that goes on the back for the back injectors is on. We also have the feed line currently on. I was able to find it. I didn't find the I need the regulator that goes right up here for the rear. Once I find that, I can put that on later at another time. All these open ports, I just have them taped off so we're not getting dust or any of that crap in there. The other thing you might notice is these rails are pretty dang shiny. I spent quite a bit of time actually polishing up some of the parts. They were that kind of like crusty old aluminum look, kind of like this, a lot duller finished. This whole fueling system is going to get swapped out just a little bit, but for now we're just keeping everything stock as is. So we got one more thing that we're going to do to this. I'm going to show you guys, and then we're going to wrap this video up. As you can see, I just placed on the intake manifold. It's a little bit dirty right now, but already this is a beautiful polished intake manifold. I spent probably near 20 hours actually going through, cleaning this up, sanding it down, polishing it, trying to make it look as good as I can. This motor is coming together very nicely. With that being said, that's all that we're gonna do for the rest of this video. Stay tuned for the next one. Like, comment, and subscribe. We should be getting into some really cool stuff coming up.